Alright, so we're back, and what we're doing here in this part 2 tutorial is the shoulder panels for the larger sizes. This is going to be for sizes 4X and 5X. This is how you're going to do your connecting shoulder panel. It's just a small repeat of the right here. If you look at this part, pretend this is your whole front panel, and then we have this right here. And again, you're going to want to have the row 5 as your last row for this front panel. You do not want to have the connection all the way across unless you want it to have a straight edge right here. So it's completely up to you, but if you are doing it with a straight edge, you're going to actually start on what's going to be row 2 of this panel right here that I'm going to create on this video. So you're going to go ahead and grab your yarn, same yarn and same hook size that you've been using to connect or to create your front and back panels. So we're going to work on this, and we're going to work on the other side over here, and then you'll be able to rewind the video and get started on the panel for the other side. So you're going to have 2 of these that are going to connect to your back panel. So you want to make sure that this is going to be your front panel, because the direction that your stitches are moving in, you want to keep that same direction. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to move into a working position. Alright, so the first thing that you're going to want to do, because you're not going to have this panel over here, is you are going to want to mark. So you're going to get out 2 stitch markers, and I'm going to use these paper clips so y'all can see what I'm doing here. And you're going to determine, you're going to lay your piece out nice and flat. And if you take a look, and I know this is hard to see because I'm so close up, but this is the center. This is exactly the center of my piece. So, of my panel. So you're going to want to mark on each side of that center. You're going to want to mark right here at this cluster. So the cluster is where you're going to be marking. So you're going to find your center, and you're going to move right over here just to the side of it, and you're going to go ahead and mark in the center of that cluster, and you can go right there into that little loop that you made when you clustered that together. And then you're going to do the same exact thing over here. You're going to look at your center one, and right over here to the side of it, that's where you're going to mark. You're going to go ahead and put in a stitch marker in both places, because you guys are not going to have one of these already done. So you want to mark that so that you do not just crochet on across. So we want to go ahead and join our yarn to our piece. And to do that, what we're going to do is, you either have some working yarn still attached, and you will just move on up just as I'm about to, or you're going to attach. So in my case, I have to attach. So 1, 2, and 3 chains up in the 3rd chain up from the bottom. So you want to take a look at your chains. 1, 2, and 3. And I want to go in the top of that 3rd chain. And then I've got some yarn, slip knot, and all that. And I'm just going to pull it through, and I'm going to chain 1 to lock that in place. But you're also going to chain 1 if you have working yarn attached. You're going to chain 1 to move up. So now what you're going to do is, right there in that same exact stitch, you're going to go back in that stitch, and you're going to do a single crochet. So you're just going to go back in, do a single crochet, just like that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And this is for all sizes that chain 75 to begin. This particular tutorial is for all of those who chained 75 chains to start their panels, and that's going to be size 4X and size 5X. So we're going to skip over here. Let me back up a little bit. You're going to skip right here, this cluster. You've got that chain 2 on your hook, and you're going to come over here into this chain 3 space, and you're going to go ahead and do a single crochet. And now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to move over here. We're going to skip over this chain, and we're going to go right here into this cluster, into the center of it, and do a double crochet. So we're going to find that center, and we're going to find that little hole that we created when we clustered those together, and we're going to insert into that, and we are going to do a double crochet. And now we're going to go ahead and chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to move over here. So now we're into this section. So we're going to skip over this chain. we're going to skip over this cluster and we're going to come right here into this chain 3 space and do a single crochet. Just like so. Now we're going to chain 2 again, 1 and 2, or we're going to chain 2, and we're going to skip over this cluster and move right here into the very next chain 3 space and do a single crochet. And now we're going to do that again. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to move over here into this next chain 3 space. So we're skipping over the cluster, moving right here, and we're going to do a single crochet. And now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to come over here, and we've now met up with that stitch marker that we placed. So we're going to be stopping here, but we're going to go into that same space that we put our stitch marker, and we're going to do a double crochet. So this is what you have created so far. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3 to move up to our next row, and we're going to turn our work. So now that we've turned our work, what we're going to end up doing here is we're going to do a double crochet right there into that same exact stitch that we just come up out of. So that's a double crochet down here on the previous row. We're going to go right into the top of it and do a double crochet. And now we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to move over here. So just like we did when we were creating our back panels, we're going to skip over these chains, and we're going to come over here into this chain 2 space that we created, and we're going to do 2 double crochets right into that chain 2. There's our first one. And here is our second. Now we're going to do a double crochet right here into the single crochet. And we're going to come over here into this chain 2 space, and we're going to do 2 more double crochets. 1 and 2. And now we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now we've got this chain 4 here, and what we're going to do is we're going to come over here, and we're going to skip over this chain work, and we're going to come right here beside this double crochet and do a single crochet. Now we're going to do a single crochet right here into the top of the double crochet, and we're going to do a single crochet right there beside it. So that is what we have so far. So now what we're going to do is a chain 4 to move on. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to move over here to where we have this chain 2 space. All right, so we're going to do 2 double crochets right there into that chain 2. So here is my first one. And here is my second. And now I'm going to do a double crochet right here into this single crochet. So we're going to go directly into that single crochet right here at the end of our row, and we're going to do a double crochet. Just like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to go ahead and chain 2 more. So this first chain 3, I'm sorry I bumped my camera, guys. This first chain 3 is counting as a double crochet. So now we're going to chain 2 more, so that's a total of 5 chains to move up to that next row, and we're going to turn our work. And now we're going to do a double crochet right here into this very first double crochet. Same double crochet that this total of chain 5 is coming out of. So we're going to go right there into that stitch and do a double crochet. And we're going to go ahead and do a double crochet in the next 2 double crochets that are in this section. So we're going to go ahead and do a double crochet and then 1 more double crochet right here to finish out this section. So now what we're going to do is a chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to move over here. We're going to skip over this first single crochet, and we're going to move immediately here into the second and do a single crochet. Now we're going to chain 4 again, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to move over here, and now we're at this section where we have our 5 double crochets. So we're going to do a double crochet in each of the first 3 double crochets. So you're going to go ahead and do a double crochet here. You're going to do a double crochet right there beside it. And you're going to do a double crochet right here in this third one. And now we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're going to go back into that same exact stitch, and we're going to do another double crochet. And now we're going to do a double crochet in the next 2 double crochets to finish out this section. There's 1 and 2. And now we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to move over here. We've got a double crochet and a chain 3 right here. And we're going to work a double crochet into the top of each one of those. So here is the double crochet going right into the top of it, and I'm going to do a double crochet. And now I'm going to do a double crochet in the top of this chain 3. So count out from the bottom, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to go right there in the top of it and do a double crochet. And now I'm going to do another double crochet right there into that same exact chain space, or same exact stitch. We're going to do another double crochet. And this is what we have so far. So we're over here working it out just fine. And this is going to be really pretty. It's going to help continue that same pattern on around. So now we're going to go ahead and move up to the next row. So to move on up to the next row, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to turn our work. And now, excuse that little crazy tail. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go right back here into the same exact stitch, and we're going to do a double crochet. So we're right here in that same stitch doing a double crochet. And now we're going to do a double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. And try not to split your yarn. There's 2 and 4. So I've got a total of 4 double crochets right here in this section. So now I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to move over here. I'm going to skip over this, and I'm going to move right here into these double crochets. And we're going to go ahead and do a double crochet in the top of each one of those stitches. So we're going to put 1 double crochet in each one. So I'm moving on to this one, doing a double crochet right there in the top of it. And over here to this one, doing a double crochet right there in the top of it. Now I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And now what we're going to be doing is we're going to do our 7 double crochets right there into that chain 5 loop that we created. So we're going to go right into there, and we're going to work 7 double crochets just like we were doing on our front and back panels. Here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and last but not least, number 7. And we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And we're now over here where we have these 3 double crochets in a row. We're going to put a double crochet in the top of each one of those. 1 double crochet. Alright, so we're going to do a double crochet right here into this next stitch, just like so. And we're going to do a double crochet into the very next stitch. And now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to move over here to this single crochet. So we're going to skip over all of this. Let me straighten this out just a little bit. So we're going to skip over all of this, and we're going to go right here into this single crochet and do a single crochet. And now we need to do a chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to come over here, and now we've made it to this end of this row, and we're going to do a double crochet in each of these next 3 double crochets. So you're going to do a double crochet and a double crochet in the very next stitch and a double crochet in the very next stitch. So that is a double crochet into the top of each of those double crochets from the previous row. Now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to come over here into this chain 5 space, and we're going to do 3 double crochets directly into that chain 5 space. 2 and 3. And now we're going to do a 4th double crochet, but we're going to count up on this chain 5 and find the 3rd stitch up. So here's 1, 2, and here is 3 hiding behind those, and you can just kind of scoot them over if you need to. And we're going to go into the top of that chain 3 and do a double crochet. And now we're going to go ahead and proceed on to the next row, and we're going to do a chain 4, and we're going to turn our work. Now we're going to begin doing our double crochet clusters in every other stitch like we were doing previously. So you're going to go ahead and wrap your yarn. You're going to go ahead and wrap your yarn, and you're going to go here to the 2nd stitch. So we're going to skip over this one, go immediately into the 2nd one just like we were doing on our back panel, and we're going to pull up a loop. We're going to pull through 2, and we're going to hold it, and we're going to continue on until we've done our double crochet cluster. So you're going to go into that same stitch 3 times, pulling up a loop, pulling through 2, and then holding it until you have 4 loops on your hook. And then you're going to go ahead and grab your yarn and pull through all 4 loops. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then you're going to move over here, and you're going to skip this very next stitch, and you're going to move into the stitch and do a double crochet cluster just like we just did, and like you've been doing all on your back and front panels. And you're going to complete that out, and then you're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now you're going to move over here, and you're going to be working on these 3 double crochets and these 3 over here, clustering those together, so you're kind of bridging this gap. So you're going to go ahead and do that just like you were doing on your back panel, and you're going to work into each of those stitches without completing, and so that you can cluster all that together. So you're going to go into each one of those, and then you're going to skip over here just like you were doing on your back panel, go into that 1st stitch, pulling up a loop, pull through 2, and you're going to hold it, and you're going to go into the very next stitch, you're going to pull up a loop, pull through 2, and you're going to hold it. So if you take a look, you've got 6 loops on your hook, and when you get 7, you're going to be done. So we're going to go into this last double crochet in this section, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and now we have 7 loops on our hook. So we're going to grab our yarn, pull through all 7 loops, and we're going to do a chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're going to move over here, and we're going to do our double crochet cluster in every other stitch so that you end up with 4. So this is exactly like you were doing on that back panel. You're just doing a really short version of it right here with a couple adjustments to make it work as the shoulder strap or, you know, shoulder panel. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I've done my first. I'm going to skip this next stitch, go into the very next, and I'm going to do my cluster again. And I'm going to go through a chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to go ahead and skip this next stitch and go into the very next. I'm going to wrap my yarn, pull up a loop, pull through 2. I'm going to wrap my yarn again, insert back in the same stitch, pulling up a loop, pull through 2, hold it. I'm going to wrap my yarn again. I'm going to go back into that same stitch for the very last time, pull through 2. I'm going to hold it. 4 loops on my hook means I can grab my yarn, pull through all 4 loops. Now I'm going to chain 3 again, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to skip this next stitch and go immediately into this last one in this section. I'm going to pull up a loop, I'm going to pull through 2, and I'm going to hold it. I'm going to insert again into that same exact stitch, pulling up a loop. I'm going to pull through 2, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to do that one more time, pull up a loop, pull through 2. I'm going to hold it. I have 4 loops on my hook, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my yarn and pull through all 4 loops. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a chain 5. 1, 2, oops, sorry, I got a little tangle here. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start like I'm doing a cluster, but I'm not going to finish that out this time. So I'm only going to work the cluster portion into these 3 double crochets. So I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. We're going to go into that stitch, pull up a loop, we're going to pull through 2, and we're going to hold it. And I've got some little string ends hanging there. Now I'm going to wrap my yarn again. I'm going to go into this very next stitch, insert my hook, grab my yarn and pull up a loop. I'm going to pull through 2, and I'm going to hold it. I'm going to do that one more time, going right here. I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my yarn and pull through all 4 of those loops on my hook. And now I'm going to go ahead and move over here into these double crochets, and I'm going to do a double crochet into each of those stitches, which is a regular old double crochet right into each one. And I've got a 4th one over here, and I'm going to work into that one as well, right there in the top of that chain 3, and I'm going to pull through 2, pull through 2, finish that double crochet. So this is what you have so far. Now what I need to do is I need to go ahead and create my altered row 1 is what we'll call it, so that we have something to stitch into when we go to connect this to the back panel. So I chained 1 and I've turned my work. I'm going to go right here into this very first stitch, and I'm going to do a single crochet. And then I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and I'm going to actually skip over here to where we did this cluster and then began these double crochets. And I'm going to go right there in the center of that. So I'm going to go right in between that into that one little chain or space. It's a stitch, and I'm going to do a double crochet. From here, I'm going to go ahead and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to come over here to where I have my clusters. I'm going to go in this chain 3 and do a single crochet. And now I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to immediately skip over this cluster and go into the next chain 3 and do a single crochet. And now I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to chain 2, skipping over this right here and going right here in that chain 3 and doing a single crochet. And now I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to go over here to where we did our traditional cluster that we've been doing, and I'm going to do a double crochet right there in that center of that, just like we've been doing on our back panel. And I'm going to do that double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to jump over here to this section, and I'm going to go into that chain 3 space and do a single crochet. And last but not least, I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to count up from the bottom down here on this chain. This is the chain 4, so I'm going to find the 3rd chain up. 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to insert my hook into that 3rd chain, and I'm going to do a single crochet. So now what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and repeat the same thing over on the other side. That's why we marked that center, so you will know exactly where to stop. And you're going to go ahead, rewind this video if you need help, and you're going to go through and you are going to make one more of these panels just like this over on the other side. And this is specifically for sizes 4X and 5X. And now you're going to go ahead and continue on after you've finished your other side. You're going to continue on with me to part 3 of this tutorial to finish on up.